Myles Lewis-Skelly's first Champions League start against Monaco wasn't just promising, it was a statement. The hell-end graduate thrust into action due to Arsenal's defensive injury crisis delivered a performance beyond his years. With what seemed like a laughable amount of defensive injuries from Alexander Zinchenko being out, Gabriel being out, Ricardo Calafiori being out, Ben White being out, Tommy Yasu being out, it seemed like it was time for either Kieran Tierney to start, which I thought was more likely, or in the less likely option, in my opinion, would have been Myles Lewis-Skelly, and boy am I glad Lewis-Skelly got the nod. And to say the 18-year-old rose to the challenge, well, that would be an understatement. Starting a high-stakes Champions League game against a good Monaco team at such a young age speaks volumes about his potential and the trust that Arteta has in him. At just 18 years old, Lewis-Skelly showcased composure, technical skill, good defensive awareness, and good tactical awareness. For me, his standout moment came in the 34th minute when Arsenal finally broke the deadlock after having millions of chances to do so. Lewis-Skelly received a pass under pressure on the left-hand side, and he effortlessly kind of shimmied his way past his marker, threaded a perfectly weighted pass through Monaco's backline to find Gabby Jesus, and Jesus did the rest, squaring it across the box, and Bukayo Saka tapped it in to make Arsenal go up 1-0. And undoubtedly, the main man in that goal was Lewis-Skelly. At 18 years old, in a huge game, in a Champions League game, he just made it look so effortless for how he just broke open one of the better teams in Europe. It wasn't just a simple pass, it was a sequence built on vision and execution. Breaking lines with such a good pass against a well-organized Monaco defense highlights Lewis-Skelly's playmaking ability in that inverted fullback role. Lewis-Skelly for the under-23s and under-21s has played in midfield before, and the fact that he can play at left back and look like that's his natural position, that just shows how good of a footballer he is in general. And then defensively, I mean, Lewis-Skelly was just as good. Monaco has a dangerous right-hand side duo between Van der Sar and Golovin, but neither of them really got a sniff. One notable moment came early when Van der Sar nutmegged him, but rather than lose confidence, the 18-year-old said, alright, he just tightened his defensive game, ensuring Monaco generated only 0.38 expected goals throughout the game. I mean, defensively, you can't really complain from Lewis-Skelly's performance. I would say defensively, Lewis-Skelly puts in a better defensive performance than someone like Zinchenko would have. That is a huge statement for the 18-year-old. And one thing Monaco idiotically tried to do was try to press Lewis-Skelly into making mistakes. And despite being pressed heavily, Lewis-Skelly played out of tight spaces with remarkable composure. I mean, his ability to handle intense pressure, especially in such a crucial game in the Champions League at 18 years old, it reflects his maturity. We knew going into the season, I made a video about it saying the two main guys for me is Ethan Nwaneri, and not far behind him is Myles Lewis-Skelly. I've been saying it, Nwaneri is levels above everyone, but Lewis-Skelly is so much closer to Nwaneri than a lot of people think. I mean, if you just look at Myles Lewis-Skelly's stats from the games as an 18-year-old, it's mind-boggling. 64 minutes played, 45 out of 47 accurate passes, which is insane, 53 touches, 2 out of 2 successful dribbles, 4 passes into the final third as an 18-year-old left back, 2 defensive actions, 1 out of 1 tackles won, 1 recovery, 4 out of 5 ground duels won. I mean, he was absolutely insane everywhere on the pitch. Defensively, he was really good, but offensively is where he made his money for sure. I mean, we've seen good 18-year-olds perform in the Champions League before, but not often do they have a maturity on the ball, which is something that stood out most to me when watching Lewis-Skelly play against Monaco. He consistently resisted Monaco's press, showing calmness beyond his years by either dribbling away from danger or just recycling possession, which is something that more experienced players do. His link-up play with Declan Rice and even Martin Odegaard helped Arsenal dominate the midfield, and essentially at 18 years old, he played that Zinchenko role, frequently drifting into midfield, and his ability to play between the lines added fluidity to Arsenal's build-up, which was something so cool to see, because in my previous video I was saying that it felt like our fluidity in the build-up just was non-existent. And I mean, as much as I rate Lewis-Skelly, I thought for sure Kieran Tierney would begin the starts, but I can understand now why Lewis-Skelly got the starts ahead of him. Lewis-Skelly defensively is a lot better than you would expect from an 18-year-old, and on the ball with build-up play, his tactical genius, he is really high level, especially for an 18-year-old. And the thing is that's so awesome to see is that he has good chemistry with the senior players because they already trust him. I mean, the way Jesus, Saka and Rice interacted with him on the pitch showed mutual respect for his decision making, and they already rate him as a player. His self-assurance and maturity just stood out. I mean, he played like he belonged, showing no signs of nerves despite the stage. His confidence reminded me of when Bukayo Saka broke through, or when even Emile Smith-Rowe broke through. They just looked like they were ready for the opportunity, and for me, Lewis-Skelly looked like that last night. And this performance also marked a historical milestone. At 18 years and 2 months, Lewis-Skelly became Arsenal's youngest ever Champions League starter since Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in 2011. What a throwback that is. Lewis-Skelly's Champions League debut wasn't just a tactical necessity. I mean, it was to some degree, but it was a revelation. His technical brilliance, defensive resilience, and creative spark makes him arguably Arsenal's most exciting young prospect alongside Ethan Nwaneri. If this is what he can deliver on his first start in the Champions League game, imagine what he could deliver on his 20th or 30th start. Now, there is one thing to be said, that he did look very tired in that second half, but I mean, at 18 years old, playing 64 minutes in a Champions League game on your debut, it is very understandable why he got so tired. And with this injury crisis, it is less than ideal, but having Lewis-Skelly, seen him perform the way he did, it gives me a lot more confidence heading into Everton that if we still have the same injury crisis, well, I think Lewis-Skelly can more than play his role against Everton. What a performance from the 18-year-old. Him and Ethan Nwaneri, they have a bright future ahead.